You only need to know me. I will be the one.
What comes after this initial statement is what I had written about 8 weeks ago around the time of the controversy over Hiyori decrying the Kurozumi and saying they were born to burn, to die in a river of flames. Looking at the original script I wrote for this video, I felt it necessary to provide a prelude given new information from chapter 1060 with Imu's destruction of the island of Luluzia Kingdom. We don't know for sure what that thing in the sky is. The shadow that appeared in the clouds above before raining lightning or laser beams or rays of light or energy down upon the island below, eviscerating it since we are told that the kingdom never existed to begin with by the Gorosei, implying it was completely destroyed. What sort of power could disintegrate an entire island, leaving potentially nothing behind? Some think it's a flying ship or a saucer. A UFO is appropriate, right? Unidentified flying object. This would parallel the arc maxim that Enel has, that destroyed a sky island. And yet, would there really be two ancient weapons that are actually weapons or vehicles? Pluton, a naval ship for the sea maybe. The other one, Uranus, a spaceship or some kind of aircraft. I'm working on another video questioning if this is just a Delphi power or ancient technology and not Uranus at all. Although if it is Uranus, god of the sky, a celestial body seems appropriate, I guess. Celestial dragons rule the sky, combined with some weapon that might be in the sky, or have descended from space akin to the thing or rocky object that nearly sucked up Capone and his crew. I've seen discussion about that as well. Could that be the work of Shiki the Golden Lion, or was Uranus used then too? Some in the Japanese theory community, including Uteron, believe Imu might be an alien, given the One Piece logo you can see here and how when you turn the skull wearing a straw hat upside down, it looks like an alien riding a UFO. Just considering UFOs in general, they are known for shining down beams of light or shooting out lasers, but also having a gravitational pull or anti-gravity effects. Gravity akin to celestial bodies or planets like that object that sucked up Capone. But that aside, gravity akin to celestial bodies in space, like the moon or sun for example. The sun god then comes to mind as Luffy's power has been compared by Kobe to a sort of gravity that draws people to him just like the sun's gravity does. And so I'm wondering which one is Imu. Well, maybe Imu is a god too, the god of the moon that is unaware of the dawn. Now chapter 1061 introduced some new Sword members, and I do think Sword, given their name as others have mentioned, will be directly pitted against Cypher Pole Aegis Zero. Aegis or Aegis in Latin means protection, and Aegis in Greek mythology refers to the shield carried primarily by Zeus. Zeus is the god of the sky in ancient Greek mythology, known as the ruler, protector, and father of all gods and humans, and so the creator of this world. Zeus is often represented by symbols such as the lightning bolt and the eagle, and so a bird. In chapter 1060 we saw Imu, who like the other celestial dragons might be guarded by the shield, Cypher Pole Aegis Zero. We saw Imu coincide with the descent of something in the sky over Luluzia Kingdom where Sabo was. This ball of light or lightning crashing down into the island akin to Enel during Skypiea. Enel and Imu have parallels, and the kami Enel is pretty much the Zeus of Skypiea. Zeus, god of the sky, and some think that weapon of Imu was Uranus, god of the sky. Uranus is said to be the grandfather of Zeus, so there's a connection there. Imu maybe being the symbolic grandfather of Enel, but not literal. Arc Maxim and Enel might equal Zeus, but before them came Uranus and Imu maybe. Enel is just a cheap copy. Another thing to add to the parallels of Enel and Imu that might reveal Imu's connection to Uranus or what Uranus might be. So Joe 3 Skull Theories on Twitter put together this connection. Doflamingo's birdcage that was threatening to destroy an entire island is very similar and looks similar to what happened to Luluzia Kingdom. Aside from the number 16 that you have probably heard repeated by now, 16 holy strings or string bullets akin to the 16 rays of light that struck the kingdom of Luluzia, and the word birdcage, bird, a flying creature, ties into Enel's own attack called Thunderbird, just like Zeus, god of the sky and thunder, and another one called Kingdom Come when Enel destroys an entire kingdom or island. And then we have the title of chapter 241, showing a bird, called the Judgment of Heaven. This has led many to believe Uranus is really a bird being controlled by Imu. The eyes that Imu have are similar to the eyes of Zunisha, so maybe there's something there. Or again, some celestial object in the sky that can fly around akin to a bird, raining down Imu's judgment or wrath from heaven. And one such idea could be the moon as well, given the arc maxim is compared to Uranus, and when Enel leaves Skypiea for outer space, we see Oda position the arc maxim, coincidentally, directly in front of the moon. Could he have been suggesting the two are connected in some way? Maybe alluding to the moon being the true arc maxim, or something like the moon, some celestial body being the final ancient weapon that Imu has control over. Enel can combine his observation haki with his devil fruit and the arc maxim. Could Imu do the same with his own observation haki, devil fruit, and Uranus? Imu's eyes are similar to Mihawk's after all, and while there are other characters with this strange eye pattern, some say it's just a design choice. What if Imu's reach is so far to strike Luzia Kingdom from Merijawa because of Imu's observation? Another idea about the moon and observation haki and Imu's eyes is the connection to Kaguya that other series have relied on, the mythology surrounding this name. Naruto has incorporated it even. In that series we see that there was a grand plan, the Eye of the Moon plan, to use the moon for an infinite Tsukiyomi or illusion, thereby ending all conflicts by trapping the world in a perpetual dream. What if the moon or some other celestial object is the cause of whatever is going on in this panel? Ohara mentioned in an old video of his on his channel that the Japanese and puns surrounding Imu have some connection to mirrors and light. What if some light from the sun is being reflected as an attack, like shining the light of the sun through a lens to cause things to burn, a concentrated attack? And so can the moon or some object be used as a mirror, just like the infinite Tsukuyomi? A lot of this is speculation. We don't know exactly what Uranus is. A bird, a spaceship, a celestial body like the moon itself, making Imu the moon god as I mentioned. In the past I've suggested Blackbeard is the god of darkness or the god of the moon. And Ohara made his own video on why Blackbeard could be the moon god, especially with his childhood picture of Blackbeard crying under the moon. The sea might hate devil fruit users because of some connection to the moon. Maybe the sea hates the moon because the moon can control the tides. But the sun can do so as well, control the tides, and so maybe the sea hates the sun and the moon. Blackbeard then might just be the sea devil that hates the sun and moon gods, especially since his Yami Yami no Mi power of darkness mimics the power of the sea and its effect on devil fruit users. But let's go to the original script for this video, which was not about Uranus, but instead why Imu is both a god and a pirate. So one thing I've been wondering for a while now concerns the motivations of Imu-sama, the person many believe to be Luffy's final opponent in One Piece unless Oda throws in a last-minute curveball. I think we got some answers from recent events in One Piece, events surrounding the defeat of Kaido and Orochi as it pertains to some reveals and choice words of Princess Hiyori. In chapter 1057, a poem is being read to the people of Wano, one that documents a story, the fall of Kaido and Orochi. As the final curtain closes and Act 3 ends, we hear Princess Hiyori telling a burning Orochi and speaking to the people of Wano, it seems, that the Kurozumi were born to burn. A callback to Odin, and so an interesting juxtaposition of Odin saying he was born to boil. There is some debate over what the specific translation should be, whether it refers to all the Kurozumi or just Kurozumi Orochi, depending on the official or the fan translations. But either way, I think the overall point still stands and hints at Imu's character in some way. That Imu also believes a certain group of people were born to burn. So there is a song that was played by Kozuki Hiyori on her shamisen called The Moon Princess. When she was a child, her father Kozuki Odin took a liking to the song and asked her to play it at his funeral. We see in the chapter this song was revealed. Hiyori performed the song to Kurozumi Orochi. Each time she performs the song, Hiyori would put on a kitsune mask because she was unable to smile while playing it. Although we do see after Kaido and Orochi's defeat, during the festival that was held a week after Wano was liberated, Hiyori happily played the Moon Princess for the festivities. She is finally able to smile. I think it is so interesting that as we find out in chapter 1057, as we see Momonosuke thank Luffy for saving Wano and how because of him the people of Wano are finally able to smile again. I think it is so interesting that Momonosuke's words of gratitude and the smiles that have returned to Wano, including Hiyori smiling, As she plays the song Moon Princess, it ties into what the Gorosei told us about the power of the sun god Nika, or why the person that eats that devil fruit is called Joy Boy when his true power is awakened. A power so ridiculous that it can bring laughter and smiles to others, that Luffy awakened the sun god Nika and Joy Boy returned in front of a full moon. The moon seems important for some reason, especially given the fact that Oda chose to design the Kozuki family symbol or emblem as a crescent moon. The Moon Princess song reminds me of the introduction of Kaguya from Naruto, but also the Tale of the Bamboo Cutter, which is a monogatari or fictional prose narrative containing elements of Japanese folklore, considered the oldest surviving work in the monogatari form. The story details the life of Kaguya Hime, or Kaguya Hime, a princess from the moon who is discovered as a baby inside the stalk of a glowing bamboo plant. After she grows up, her beauty attracts 5 suitors seeking her hand in marriage, whom she turns away by challenging them each with an impossible task, and we know that Hiyori would also similarly rob men for money. The Moon Princess later attracts the affection of the Emperor of Japan, or in the case of One Piece, the Shogun of Wano, Orochi. At the tale's end, Kaguya Hime reveals her celestial origins and returns to the moon. The story is also known as the Tale of Princess Kaguya, or Princess Kaguya, which ties into the Naruto reference of Kaguya. Or in the case of One Piece, the tale of Princess Kaguya ties into the tale of Komurasaki, or Princess Hiyori. Many have pointed out how Oda follows certain rules or practices, such as turning things upside down. His foreshadowing is also out of this world. And so you have to ask whether the story of the Moon Princess will come into play down the road. Is Imu from the moon? Would Imu be Oda's Kaguya, the final villain? Anyways, as Hiyori mentions, this is the song that Kozuki Oden loved, the song my father loved. How can I force myself to smile? As we tie this into the importance of a smile and the moon in Oda's story, aside from Hiyori maybe assuming the role of the Moon Princess here in Wano, the crescent moon symbol of the Kozuki that I mentioned, it is noteworthy that Lady Toki bears a strong resemblance to her daughter Hiyori. Toki also wore a kimono with crescent moons on it, resembling the Kozuki family's symbol. Toki's real name is Amatsuki Toki. Amatsuki, literally meaning heaven moon, fits most of the Wano country family's theme of having the kanji for moon in its name. Many think the moons we saw from Ohara with Clover have some connection to the ancient kingdom of the Void Century and the true history, and that Wano does as well. If the song The Moon Princess refers to Lady Toki as well, the potential connection or foreshadowing of Imu still applies. Maybe just as Lady Toki traveled through time, maybe Imu has been living for a long time, ever since the Void Century. Imu, the Moon Princess or Moon Queen, the king of the world Imu, looking down over the world as does the moon at night. Or just maybe Imu, the moon god that some believe might exist to counteract the sun god. When you consider Hiyori's statement again that the Kurozumi were born to burn, let's pretend that this is Imu giving this speech instead of Hiyori, and if you replace the Kurozumi clan with the D clan, or pirates in general, you have Imu saying that the D clan or pirates must burn or die, as we so often see in the story. Pirates are evil, a similar hatred. This and how Wano ended might tie into what Toki once said, a prophecy about the 9 shadows that would help in defeating Kaido and Orochi. She spoke of the moon as well as saying, "You are the moon unaware of the dawn, a darkness unaware of brighter days to come, a better way perhaps," similar to Otohime's prophecy about healing the hatred between the different races of the world. Maybe this hints at Imu, the moon, being unaware of the sun god, Luffy, and the dawn he will usher into the world, the coming new era Shanks spoke of. There also seems to be a theme in One Piece of letting go of hate, as we see from Fishman Island, that the dawn ties directly into this, Fishman Island ending with Luffy giving his blood to Jinbei, and the path toward the sun, as brought up by the narrator, leaving hatred behind. Whereas Hiyori seems to still be holding on to hers, depending on the translation. Maybe she specifically meant Kurozumi Orochi was born to burn, or maybe all of the Kurozumi. Either way, her hatred is justified given the death of her father, but Oda's message is about sailing toward something new, finding and choosing a brighter road, to know the true brilliance of the dawn. And the fact that Hiyori can now smile when playing the song about the Moon Princess leads me to wonder about Imu's motivations and whether the dawn will rise for Imu as well. Not all antagonists have to be villains after all. Some of them have very complicated reasons for doing what they do. And so, the Kurozumi were born to burn. Let's pretend that this is Imu giving this speech instead of Hiyori, and if you replace the Kurozumi clan with the D clan or pirates, you have Imu saying that the D clan or pirates must burn or die, or as we so often see in the story, pirates are evil. This takes us back to Marineford and coincidentally the speech of a former celestial dragon Doflamingo, and so a man that is also from Merijoa like Imu. Doflamingo as someone that told Luffy humans were beneath him, as if he himself were not human even though he is or technically is based on his appearance. Who knows where these celestial dragons are originally from. But people had an issue with the way the Kurozumi were treated and how the story of the Kurozumi is now passed down, the cycle of hatred, in a way that treats a group of people that were discriminated against as the true evil, when in reality the Kozuki had originally done them wrong. The victors, the Kozuki descendants Momonosuke and Hiyori, have rewritten the narrative knowingly or not. And so on Marineford, when Doflamingo says, pirates are evil, these terms have always changed throughout the course of history. Children who have never seen peace, and kids who have never seen war, have different values. Those who stand at the top determine what's wrong and what's right. This very place is neutral ground. Justice will prevail, you say. But of course it will. Whoever wins this war becomes justice. Dofi's words ring true now as we see Hiyori proclaim the Kurozumi were born to burn. If you accept this particular version of the translation, the atrocities committed against the Kurozumi have yet to be corrected. A subtly dark ending on the low compared to how other arcs typically end. It makes you wonder when Rayleigh spoke of the true history and told Robin, Luffy, and the other Straw Hats that they must arrive at their own answer. Maybe history is not what we think it is. Who is evil, pirates or the world government? Maybe everybody is. For us readers, are the Gorosei and Imu really the bad guys? The world government appears to have won the Void Centuries War, and they have decided what history and justice is. Maybe everyone is complicit in some way. The Kurozumi under Orochi, but also the Kozuki of the past, and so the world government, the D-Clan, and pirates. No one is singularly responsible. Everybody is. Like Imu and Dofi, I wonder if the various villains or antagonists Luffy has fought in the story give us a window into Imu's heart. That just maybe Imu's character will be the summation of everything Luffy has faced so far in the story. The final and complete puzzle piece he must overcome before arriving at the One Piece. Beyond Kaido and Wano and the elements of conquering and slavery that we were introduced to, as well as the other episodes of slavery and hatred that Oda's story has sought to conquer. A major hint that I've even referenced before concerns Enel, and how there is a mirror panel of Enel and Imu-sama, lording over their subjects upon their initial introductions. The exact same setup. Clearly a deliberate decision by Oda. Now, this is a crazy idea that I've had for a while, but when you really think about it, Imu is a pirate. Yes, in a way, the biggest and strongest pirate crew in the world is run by Imu, the king of the world, and leader of the world government. Maybe a parallel to Luffy as the pirate king having a massive pirate army under him. Imu has stolen from the entire One Piece world. Think Wano and Kaido on a much larger scale. Think tribute, gold, slavery, even building that bridge that has been under construction for the past 700 years, upon demand of the world nobles or celestial dragons. An enormous feat carried out by various slaves. It's interesting that the purpose of this seemingly impossible task is to connect various islands together, as if to unite the world as one, to establish control over who gets to travel from one part of the world to the next maybe. Something that does seem to be ironically tied into the end of the series' goal that is theorized to be the destruction of the Red Line, uniting all the seas as one, and so the One Piece, and so again a mirror image of Imu and Luffy, doing things in their own way. Or perhaps Imu and Joy Boy. Thinking of Imu through the lens of a pirate also matters granted how this thumbnail from Anime Balls Deep inspired this part of the video. I mentioned turning the world upside down earlier, something Goldie Roger said to Rayleigh when recruiting him. Roger was the Pirate King, Rayleigh was the Dark King, Luffy the future Pirate King maybe, and Zoro the Pirate Hunter. There's also Shanks and Ben Beckman. The sun Shanks and the moon Ben Beckman as revealed to us by Oda. Both Rayleigh, Zoro, and Beckman are right hands. Luffy the next coming of Joy Boy, but both Luffy and Roger, and also Shanks in a way, have performed actions that live up to Joy Boy's legacy and each wore the straw hat at one point in time. Luffy and Roger carry the will of D, and so maybe Joy Boy was the first to D, or the D is related to his will in some way, the will of that man, the will of Joy Boy. Whereas maybe Imu was Joy Boy's right hand. Joy Boy wants the king of the ancient kingdom, Roger the pirate king, Luffy the next pirate king. Imu maybe was the right hand of that king, of Joy Boy. And now Imu is the Dark King, the Shadow King of the world, and a pirate hunter as the leader of the world government. Going back to the Moon Princess song, and what Hiyori said about, "This is the song that Kozuki Oden loved, the song my father loved. How can I force myself to smile?" What if Binks Sake was originally the song Joy Boy loved? And if Imu has some relationship with Joy Boy, how can Imu force his or herself to smile either? Looking at Kurozumi Orochi versus Kozuki Oden, the dark or shadow king Orochi and the true king, or shogun, Kozuki Oden, Imu might be the dark or shadow king to whoever deserves to sit on the empty throne. That seat does not truly belong to Imu, and so even though Imu is sitting there, it is actually still empty. Simply sitting in that chair is not enough. Simply wearing the crown is not enough if it does not truly belong to you. You are in effect a placeholder until the one true king arrives and takes the throne. And so if Imu were the dark king or shadow king, that would mean Imu is also someone's moon. The moon to a sun. The moon that rises during the long night. The moon that awaits the dawn. And so the moon to the sun god Luffy. But also the moon to whoever held that throne before him or her, before Imu. Joy Boy as well as Joy Boy's descendant, maybe. Just as the Kozuki clan has taken back their throne after the end of a long night of the Kurozumi clan or Kurozumi Orochi's reign. Returning to Toki's speech about the moon, being ignorant of the dawn and 20 years of moonlit nights that would one day be overcome by the radiance of the dawn, does it hint at the moon god Imu being defeated one day by the sun god Luffy, that the darkness of the moon would one day be overcome by Luffy? I know some have questioned if the moon god would actually be instead Blackbeard, given the moon eclipsing the sun and spreading darkness over the world, as we often see in this anime opening. And so darkness over the world, and so the Yami Yami no Mi. We also see Blackbeard crying under a moon as a child. Sad boy versus joy boy. But who knows? Another thing about Imu though is how people have pointed out that Imu's name can be switched into Umi, which means sea or ocean. Additionally, the kanji can mean Buddhist monk, and we know Oda has relied on Buddhism for the wisdom kings that tie into the mythical status of Luffy as the monkey god Sun Wukong or Hanuman, and so Imu, a moon god. The moon can control the tides and so the ocean or sea. Now, whether Imu turns out to be a god of the moon or a god of the sea, who knows? But considering Hiyori's words, if they belong to Imu, and if you replace the Kurozumi clan with the D clan or pirates, you have Imu saying that the D clan or pirates must burn or die, or as we so often see in the story, pirates are evil, and comparing it to Oden saying he was born to boil. What if just as the Kurozumi betrayed the Kozuki and the history of betrayal within the Kurozumi that has been passed down the generations, similar to Orochi's grandfather, I believe it was, that was chasing forbidden knowledge and power, akin to Roxy Zabek curiously, the taboo pirate. Maybe as some have theorized in the past, Oda has drawn a contrast or comparison with the D clan as we see Blackbeard betray Whitebeard in a similar fashion to Kurozumi Orochi betraying Kozuki Oden despite both men taking in Blackbeard and Orochi as orphans. Both men, Blackbeard and Orochi, hungry for power as well. Orochi even had multiple heads due to his Hebi no Mi model Yamata no Orochi 8-headed snake or dragon devil fruit. And many believe Blackbeard to have multiple personalities or souls, and eventually multiple devil fruits too. Maybe Blackbeard is depicted in some way by Kurozumi Orochi, and Luffy is depicted in some way by Kozuki Oden, as we see from Wano that Luffy was the man that came to defeat Kaido in place of Oden. Likewise, maybe their individual deaths are revealed by those two characters as well. Blackbeard born to burn, Luffy born to boil, only one of them dying with a smile. However, they actually do end up dying. One seemingly afraid to die, the other not afraid to die at all. A different death for a different path. Kurozumi versus Kozuki. A different death for a different D. Marshall D. Teach versus Monkey D. Luffy. One evil, one not. One corrupted, one good. One corrupted, one pure. Who knows if this pattern holds true in some way for Rox Dizabek as mentioned, and Goldie Roger, and whoever came before each of them. Someone versus Joy Boy. Someone on Twitter named Cloud9 Anime also mentioned to me that Hiyori might have been saying that the Kurozumi were born to burn because they as a clan have refused to let go of their burning hatred, and so that burning hatred consumed them. Whereas by the end of Wano we do see the Kozuki welcome outsiders. Although they have decided to keep the borders of Wano closed for now, they have yet to truly open up their hearts. And so, to contrast the Kurozumi versus the Kozuki, keeping the borders of Wano closed versus opening the borders. And so born to burn. Some D's like Blackbeard, born to destroy the world, drowning it in chaos. Whereas others like Luffy were born to create a new world by destroying the Red Line and raising something greater from the rubble. A different path than the one Imu has chosen. One that lets go of hatred and control. That not all kings are made the same. I know the arc of Wano has gotten some mixed reviews, but I'm definitely looking forward to Luffy vs Imu and how it will shape the story's ending. But as usual, we will have to wait and see. And don't forget to like the video, comment with your thoughts below, share this with your friends, and subscribe. Also click the notification bell. And if you guys want to talk to me, give me a follow on Twitter as well. As always, there is more to come. Until next time.